Your Japanese is good if you understand this. Number one, あげる、もらう、くれる, which is about giving and receiving. For example, if I give this to you, I can say これあげる, I'm giving this to you. And you can say ありがとう、もらうね, thank you, I'm going to receive it. And you can also say something like これくれるの? What? Are you giving this to me? And that's how we use them. And if you understand the differences intuitively, your Japanese is pretty good. But if you don't worry. I'm gonna explain. So, あげる is pretty simple. I use it when I'm the one who's giving this to somebody. So, これあげる I'm giving this to you. And I can also use this when I'm talking about somebody else. For example, if I gave this to a girl called Yamada, I can say 山田にお土産をあげた. I gave a souvenir to Yamada. お土産 means souvenir. You can also use this with two different people. If a guy called Ichikawa gave a girl called Yamada a souvenir, you can say 市川が山田にお土産をあげた. Ichikawa gave Yamada a souvenir. So that's how you use it. Now, もらう and くれる can be a bit tricky because context and perspectives matter. When I use もらう, I'm describing my action from my perspective. I'm the one who receiving. So I can say 市川にお土産をもらった. I received a souvenir from Ichikawa. Do you remember this sentence? ありがとう、もらうね. Thank you, I'm going to receive it. You can see I'm describing my action from my perspective. I'm going to receive it. And you can also use it from a third person's perspective. I can say 山田が市川にお土産をもらった. Yamada received a souvenir from Ichikawa. You can say I'm speaking from Yamada's perspective. Now, we use くれる when we describe the giver's action from our perspective. I can say 市川がお土産をくれた. Ichikawa gave me a souvenir. Can you see I'm describing Ichikawa's action from my perspective? Ichikawa is the one who gave me the souvenir. And do you remember how you can use もらう to say something like ありがとう、もらうね? Thank you, I'm going to receive it. You can't use くれる with this because くれる describes Ichikawa's action, not my action. What you can say instead is, well, くれるの? What? Are you giving this to me? And you can say this because you're the one who's giving this to me. Because of this, you can also say 市川がお土産をくれた. Ichikawa gave me a souvenir. Now, here's an interesting thing. You can't use くれる with two different strangers. For example, you can't say 市川が山田にお土産をくれた because I'm not Yamada in this perspective. You have to use くれる when somebody gives you something. Except when you're talking about somebody who is very close to you, like your family members. So you can say something like 市川が妹にお土産をくれた. Ichikawa gave my sister a souvenir because sister is very close to you. It's almost like part of your extended self. So this is a very interesting part. Here's another way of explaining this. In English, we use give to sentences like I gave Yamada a souvenir. Ichikawa gave me a souvenir. But in Japanese, we use different words. And if you're confused, if you find this a bit difficult, don't worry. Native Japanese speakers are not consciously aware of how they use those words differently. It's because when we speak our language, we're not using the type of conscious knowledge that we can recall and explain consciously. We actually use an implicit type of knowledge we can't quite explain consciously. So if you want to acquire Japanese practically, you don't need to memorize and explain these concepts consciously. You just have to acquire them implicitly by understanding a lot of different examples. So if you want to learn Japanese with me, I will teach you real-life native-like Japanese, which can be perfectly polite while promoting acquisition, instead of just memorizing pieces of conscious knowledge to pass tests. So click the link and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta.